All right, welcome everyone. Holding by Pirke Avos, ethics of our heart, ethics of our fathers, and is known again. Want to welcome everyone. Holding by Pirke Avos, ethics of our fathers. We're in chapter 2, Mishna 14, part 3, and there'll probably be a part 4, part 5, right? As we work our way through. So again, the Mishnah says, he said to them, "Go out and discern which is an evil path, from which a man should distance from himself, a person should distance themselves from." Rabbi Lezer says an evil eye, that's what we're still holding. Rabbi Yeshua says a wicked friend. Rabbi Yossi says a wicked neighbor. Rabbi Shimon says one who borrows does not repay. One who borrows from man is like one who borrows from the omnipresent, i.e. from God. As it is said, wicked one borrows does not repay, but the righteous one is gracious and gives. Rabbi Lezer says a wicked heart, and he, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, said to them, "I prefer the words of Eliezer ben Arach to your words. Your words are included in his words." Right, so still working our way through an evil eye, and now Rabbeinu Yonah of Gerondi, blessed memory, comes along. Rabbeinu Yonah. And Rabbeinu Yonah says like this. He says, why does the Mishnah start out in general the way it does? Right? In other words, the previous Mishnah said, what's the good path? Right? What is the good path for a person should go with? So seemingly it's just the opposite of what we said by evil. That's what it sounds like, but it's not. We mentioned that at the beginning, right, a few weeks back. So here, Rabbeinu Yonah asks, why does the Mishnah start out the way it does? Right? Why does it start out with an evil eye? Because what is an evil eye in general? The Gemara says that 99% of all people die from the evil eye. It's some people say that if you don't believe in it, you don't believe in the effect potentially it has, then it will not have the same effect. But we're going to mention what the Gemara says. The Gemara says that 99% of people die from this evil eye. Now, what's the evil eye essentially? The evil eye is something where a person may be jealous of someone else. And that person may not be doing it, whatever they're doing to make the person jealous. But let's say they're adding on to their house, their apartment, because they have too many kids. They have a lot of kids, and it's a small place. And they're able to add on, right? Not doing it to be ostentatious, not doing it just to build. But they're doing it because they need the room, they need the space. So what do other people say? Other people look at it and say, they might be jealous of what the person's doing. In other words, they'll say, well, I can't build. Why should he be allowed to build? Right? And so when a person does something, and again, even if it's to the benefit of themselves, right? Even if it's to their own benefit, then the problem is, or a potential problem is, other people may be jealous. Now, someone's going to say, what does that do with anything? If you do something causes someone to be jealous, that's not necessarily your fault. Right? Depends what it is. Depends what it is in general. But now what happens? The other person, for whatever reason, feels bad. And when the other person feels bad, so now Mr. S, the evil inclination, angel of death, is going to say to God, hey, what's this guy doing? He's making someone feel bad. God says, okay, let's open up the file. Let's see. Let's check him out. Let's see what's going on. If he's doing something, it's not his fault. He's adding on to his place, his house, whatever. Because he needs the space. Okay? Now, if someone's jealous of that, you're not doing it in an ostentatious way. You're not doing it in a way to make someone jealous. So I would say it's not your problem. Right? Why is it your problem? Not your problem over here. Even the person's jealous. But still, we got to think about, the way others feel. We have to take that into account. You got to say, I need a car. I need that onto my house. These are things crucial. Now, again, a person buys a car, they don't buy a fancy car. They buy a car because they need a car. They're not doing it to, make anyone feel bad. But the reality is we could get judged because someone else feels bad. Now, if they feel bad for the wrong reason, it's not your fault. You're doing what you need to do. At the same time, we don't want to cause people to feel bad. All right? So we got to be careful. We got to be careful what we do. Remember, Pesach Crone should be well. It tells a story. Someone's adding on to their house. The guy walking by, every day tells the owner, I think you should build it like this. I think you should have it like this. The outside should be like that. All these different things. So finally, the owner tells him, like, who are you? Like, I'm building a house the way I want to build it. It's not for you. Right? I'm building it, whatever. It's extension, whatever it is. So the other guy says, what are you talking about? He says, what you're building is on the outside, not the inside. So if you're building this thing from the outside, so you should build it the way I want. It's not for you. You don't see it so much. You're living inside. But you build it the way I want. Because it's a little bit far-fetched. The outside's also, it's not just people walking by. It's also for the people on the inside, building it. They want to make it look nice or whatever. But in such a case, the person has to be careful. I have to be careful. I have to be sensitive. Let's say better. You have to be sensitive to other people. What other people may think. But a person can say, come on. I'm doing it for my own needs. I'm not doing it in a way to make people feel bad. I'm doing it because I need the space. I'm doing it because I need a car. I'm doing it for whatever reason. And let's say it's for the sake of heaven. It's not for any other reason. Because they need it. That's a different issue. As pointed out, a person has to be careful. They have to be careful. They don't want to make anyone jealous. And if someone gets jealous and they don't really have a reason, to be jealous, okay, it's a different issue. That's definitely a different issue. God's not going to judge it as severely at all, right? Because you're not doing anything wrong, right? Technically, you're not doing anything wrong, right? So you got to be careful, right? 100%, you got to be careful. We should always be careful, what others may think. We don't want necessarily harsh judgments or anything else because we made someone feel bad. Right? A lot of times people will do what they do and they don't care. They don't care how it makes someone feel. They don't care what they say. Right? And if they say something and a person gets offended, they'll say you shouldn't have done it. They'll say that you're too sensitive. In general, people think about themselves. Right? That's the wrong attitude. Now you got to tell me the Mishna Sanhedrin says, "Bishvili nivra olam." The world's created for me, i.e. for me, not for anyone else. So I have to look out for myself. Okay. Right? You'll say, my life comes first. Okay. Right? We won't disagree with that. What we'll take issue with is the fact that even if that's true, even if your life comes first, well, guess what? You got to think about others. You have to have common sense to think about others also. Can't be selfish. You got to take care of yourself. That's true. You got to think of others. And there are times, a person will say, well, I care. What do I care what others think? Now, when it comes to Torah and mitzvahs and upholding Torah and mitzvahs, you're right. We don't care what other people think. We care what God says. We care what my obligation is. Or what my obligations are, whether it's a Jew or a non-Jew. That's the most important thing. People can say what they want. Oh, you're too strict. You're a fanatic. You're this. We don't care, right? In that sense, we don't care. Because we have an obligation to keep Torah mitzvahs. They don't like it, they go eat kugel. They'll say we're anti-pig, we're anti-women, we're anti-this, we're anti-non-Jews. They say all kinds of things. I mean, it's true at all. Well, someone, very funny, people on the outside have a lot to say. They always have a lot to say, but, a lot of times what they say is relevant. Because they are on the outside looking in. So, for Torah mitzvahs and these type of things, I don't care what people think. It's true, we have to be sensitive. Just because the person's outside in the world, quote unquote, doesn't mean you can do whatever you want. Doesn't mean you go beyond the speed limit. Doesn't mean you cut people in line. You do other things. You got to keep what the Torah says. You got to be a mensch. You got to keep what the Torah says to the best of your ability. Right? Treat other people properly. I mean, that's how it's based. Everyone would agree. This is, I'm not reinventing the wheel. This is something everybody knows. Yeah, but sometimes we only think about ourselves. When we don't think about ourselves, we don't necessarily think about the feelings of others. And that we have to. That we have an obligation. But again, when it comes, when it comes to Torah mitzvahs, it's a different issue. Right? And that's in the sense where people are going to say, oh, I don't think it's true. I think you're this. I think you're that. Okay. I don't have to listen to them. But, at the same time, a human being's a human being. Yeah, there are things that'll be liable for death penalty. There'll be things that they'll be labeled as a heretic. Okay. But people like that, I can deride as much as I want. Right? That the whole time states clear in the laws of Shmiras Lashon, or the laws of Lashon Hara. Okay. At the same time, in general, persons out in the world, we have big responsibility, huge responsibility, to our fellow men. We want to come out as squeaky clean as possible, not give anybody anything to say negatively. That's what we want. We have enough issues as it is. One person do something wrong, everyone gets blamed. Right? All Jews will get blamed. Okay. But the reality is, we gotta be careful. People could say something if we're doing the right thing. You look at someone the wrong way and say, see, these Orthodox Jews, they're looking down on me. They're paranoia also. The reality is they're not even looking at them, they're looking at something else. But we still have to be careful. We don't want to give ammunition to the other side for anything. For absolutely anything. I've seen this over and over again. People have these stereotypes. Bad, negative stereotypes. They say anti-Semitism exists because Esav hates Yaakov. Okay. Sometimes it's better, sometimes it's worse. We don't want to give them any ammunition at all. We want to make as much of a sanctification of God's name we can. Right? That's our goal. And again, sometimes it doesn't work out that way. Person's in a rush, they cut someone off. They say something they shouldn't do. They do something they shouldn't do. Right? We're our own worst enemy. One bad act doesn't have to be so severe, but one bad act a person does, you don't change someone's mind after they've seen it. Oh, this Orthodox Jew did this. It's over. Right? No matter what they do after that, all Orthodox Jews get maligned. Slander, totally forbidden. Okay. But once the damage is done, trying to get someone to see the other side properly, very hard. I'm not going to say impossible. It's very hard because people have biases. And once they have that bias, very hard to uproot. Very, very hard. Comes along Rabbeinu Yonah. Rabbeinu Yonah says, again, why the Mishna starts out the way it does. We continue with the evil eye. Now, one aspect of the evil eye that someone can be jealous is that someone does not want to help others. They're asked to help. They don't want to help. They have the ability to help. Right? And they're stingy. Right? There are people, have money, have the ability to help others. And what do? They choose not to. Now, we're not talking about a case where, a person's spendthrift, they're going to lose the money, they're using it for drugs, for other things. All things being equal, person's having a hard time. They don't want to help. They say they should get a better job, they should do other things, but they don't want to help. So essentially, A, they don't want to help, and they're stingy. We're not talking about they don't have money. They have what to do, right? They have plenty. And even if they don't have plenty, they can still help. They don't want to help. See, it's interesting. One of the character traits, or some of the character traits, someone who's a Jew, is the Gemara says, the Rachmanim Baishanim Gimels Chasodim. They have compassion for others, Rachmanim. Baishanim, they get embarrassed easily. And Gimels Chasodim, they do acts of loving kindness. Now, you go into any Orthodox Jewish communities, it doesn't apply by secular Jews. By any Orthodox Jewish community, they have many things in the community called the Gemach. What is a Gemach? A Gemach means Gimels Chesed. Doing acts of loving kindness. Someone might have, let's say, they have a lot of medicine. They have medicine, and someone needs medicine. Let's say they can't get out or whatever, they need medicine, right? So they borrow medicine. Obviously, they have to replenish it, whatever, right? But, someone has something like that, or someone's got a lawnmower, to lend out. Someone needs a lawnmower, they don't have a lawnmower, or whatever. Or, someone forgot to buy grape juice, let's say, on Shabbos. So you can have a gemach for that. Lending money. People have a gemach for that. Interest-free loan. All kinds of things. All kinds of things. You get, fax gemach. I don't know if people still get faxes today. Yeah. So someone had a fax gemach. Right? Someone needed a fax, they got to send to them. And they did that as a chesed. Right? As an act of loving kindness. Many, many things. Every ultra-Orthodox community or Orthodox community has them. The secular world, can you imagine? The secular Jewish world. Can you imagine a community? Community is going to have a Monday wedding gemach? No. These things don't exist. But what happened? We just said, what makes someone a Jew, or what, I shouldn't say makes them a Jew, but part of their spiritual DNA is the fact they do chesed. They do acts of loving kindness. Now, if you have Jews that have money, like every community, Jews have money, not always poor, right? There are some people in the community that have money. Okay. So why don't they pool together? Why don't they pool together money? Someone holds on to it, whoever it is, right? They hold on to it. Obviously, you probably need people to sign on in case the person can't pay it back. So why don't people get together in the community and do something like that? Lend $1,000, $2,000, whatever for, a few months, whatever it may be. Doesn't exist. I can tell you, secular Jewish communities, this doesn't exist. So what happened to the source of their soul here? What happened to helping others? Give me chesed. Those things have to work hard. Not my problem. They had medical expenses, they had other expenses, etc. Where's the heart? Right? That's the question. Where's their heart? So I say, isn't it true? The UJA, the UJC, the United Jewish Appeal, the United Jewish Congress, they raise close to $500 million a year, probably more than that now. Right? Imagine where all this money goes. You think it should go to like all these great things. Yeah, 6%, less than 6% goes to education. I wouldn't even say it's good education. Yeah, so you say, well, 6% is a good thing. Yeah, where's it going? Where's it going? I mean, some of the causes might be all right. Well, where's the money really going? To plant more trees in Israel. Help more, gay and lesbian, groups out there. Well, where's it going? Where's the money going? Legitimately. Not these other things. Yeah, what about setting up a fund? Setting up the fund to have people in dire straits. That never dawned on anyone. Free loan society. How can it be? Right? So you say the inside of some people is rotten. They don't want to help others. Right? So here, Rabbeinu Yonah says, the Mishna starts out with evil eye. Over here, Rabbi Lezer says, what's an evil path? Stay away from an evil eye. That means you don't want to help others. You want to look the other way. You're stingy. So he says the reality is, now technically speaking, if they're not giving, they necessarily haven't done anything wrong. Why? They could help, they choose not to. Okay. You say, well, there worse things? Yeah. Are they stealing? No. It's not like they stole from anyone. But at the same time, they're sitting back and not doing anything. And a person is suffering. And they know, let's make it easy. They know this person's suffering. And they choose not to help. Right? Especially, we say that chesed, acts of loving kindness, where does it start? At home. Starts at home. So why don't families help each other out? Sometimes, I'm not saying all the time. Well, I'm saying family knows certain person of the family is struggling and they could help. Yeah. So maybe they have a good reason not to help. Okay. Right? Let's say the person's going to use it for drugs, for other things. Okay. So that person should know. That I would agree. What if that's not the case? Person down on their luck, had difficulties, whatever it may be. Why don't they step up to the plate? Why don't they want to help? They don't have it in their heart to help. They'll help for, other causes, other things that aren't really important. They'll help save the whales. They'll help, build Palestinian towns, even though Palestinians don't exist. One of the biggest myths in the world, the idea of a Palestinian people, but we're not going to get political. They help things that don't make sense to help. In general. For them, it's a big thing. Okay, we'll help this. Yeah, whatever. So what happened to helping at home? When they could. They don't want to. Well, they don't want to help these other causes. Whatever they may be. So you say, okay, it's their choice. 100% it's their choice. We can say, like Rabbeinu Yonah here says, not like they stole from anyone. Okay. They're just not helping. They're not helping over there. So the evil eye, Rabbeinu Yonah says, is the foundation of all bad character traits. We understand by being conceited also the Orthodox, the ways of the righteous. Brings down. It's also the source of all bad character traits. And it can lead a person to terrible things. So an evil eye, looking the other way when you can help others. And it doesn't necessarily mean financial. It can mean helping in other ways. And they have zero empathy. Negative empathy. They'll say you did it to yourself. This, that, and the other thing. Why should I help you? Okay. Like in their minds, they're like, I don't have to help. Well, why don't I have to help? I worked hard, let them work hard, let them do something else. Essentially saying it's their fault. Now, sometimes it is. I'm not going to deny that. Could very well be true. I'm not talking about a case like that. And even if a person's trying to get on their feet, whatever, it's not about wasting money and throwing money away. Where's the compassion? Jews normally, I say normally in quotation marks, normally have a lot of compassion. A lot of compassion. So what happened? What happened? So we're not guided by the right motivation. You're not guided by Torah mitzvahs, though, that rudder that keeps us anchored. So then you do whatever your heart says, right? That we spoke about. When you go after the heart, you do whatever your heart says, whatever your desires tell you. So we can be convinced, I should help this person. Why should I help them? Let them help themselves. Oh, they're in a bad position. Well, when I ran for the train and got slammed because I didn't get my token all the way in. People walk over and they say, one guy says, look, that must have hurt. No empathy. Could have been if I lived in the Midwest somewhere else. Someone actually might have helped me out, maybe. Right? Give the benefit of the doubt, maybe. Where's the empathy? How do you live in a world? People, again, even if we can't do anything, sometimes people will vent. Even though you can't do anything, they want to vent. They just want to be heard. They're not looking for an answer or solution. But some people wouldn't know what the word empathy means if it hit them right between the eyes and knocked them on their behind. They wouldn't know. They're like, wow, that must be pretty bad. Next. They have one empathetic bone in their body. You ever come across people like that? I'm sure people have. Empathy goes out the window. Totally out the window. So they cannot steal, okay. They can even be philanthropic in other ways. But they're not philanthropic in the way they need to be. Right? They don't help where really they should. A person could say, that's my obligation. I have to run out looking for people to help. God gave you money. Use it right. Use it to help others. When I was told the story, somebody helped raise $100 million. I mentioned this before. $100 million to a non-Jewish charity. Now, let's say, bottom line, they got some merit. It wasn't all their money. They helped, other people, gave money, this, that, whatever it was, but they organized it. They helped. So imagine all the Jewish schools that could have helped. And most Jewish schools today are in the red, right? They got to raise money. It's not all covered by tuition. They have a hard time, year in and year out. Imagine how many needy brides they could have helped. Here's a few of the things in the Jewish community. But no, they gave it to a non-Jewish charity. Now, let's say for argument's sake, they got credit. They got some level of credit for giving to that non-Jewish charity. The person's a Jew. Well, I should have made that clear. Person's a Jew. And we always say you help your own first. Help the Jewish community first. You want to help the outer lying community after that, okay. Right? You want to do that, it's your choice. Give your money where you want. Right? But help comes at home. Starts at home. So a person will say, $100 million is not worth the same as it used to be. Okay, so what? You know what that kind of money could do in the Jewish community? The Orthodox community, huge. What it could do for education? What it could, all kinds of things. All kinds of things that need to be helped. And this person raised it for a non-Jewish charity. This non-Jewish charity, let's just make it clear, they're not helping Jews. You can say they don't have to. You're right. Everybody looks out for their own. But Jews look out for their own. That's what we do. You're going to say, well, that's selfish. No, it's not. We come first. You help your own people first. You think the Italians, the Brits are helping others before they help themselves? I mean, they're not. That's not being, they're so selfish. What do you mean? They have to help their own first. They're going to give all the money away. The country's going to go to pot? Never. It's not going to happen anywhere, at least in any quote-unquote democracy. They're going to think of their own first. Take care of their own first, then they'll help others. What they can do. Right? The whole world's like that. It's not just, we got it, and and we're the ones that we're the ones at fault because you're being selfish and you look out for your own. Everybody does such a thing. So if you're a Jew, you're born a Jew, you should help Jews first. The secular world not going to help us. We learned that out at least one lesson. One lesson, we learned out from the Holocaust. I'm not saying, I'm just saying this is the result. I'm not saying what the reason it happened. We don't know. Right? Essentially, we don't know why the Holocaust happened. Right? But there are a few things we learn out. One thing clear that we learn out is that you never, ever, ever, ever rely on men. Not if you have an Orthodox Jew, as part of the government or other things. You only rely on God. Period. You got to put your best foot forward. That's true. But the ultimate decision is made by God. He's the one in charge. So when you look at the Holocaust in general, you say, where the heck was man? And yet all these nations ganging up against the Jews. Right? People say, oh, where was God? Well, God was where he was. He made a decree. Yeah, they're going to get slaughtered, but yet a lot of people help him. A lot of messengers. Yeah, you have the Germans, you have the Latvians, you have the Croatians, you have the Russians, you have the Poles, you have the Hungarians. Yeah, you have a lot of people. A lot of people helping in the extermination of one nation. So the question really is not, why did God make the decree? That is the question. I'm not saying not. But that's not the crux of the issue. The crux of the issue is, where was man? How can man be convinced that a dog was better to treat than a human being, i.e. a Jew? So you told me they were convinced, and Yamach Shemo is a powerful orator, and they'd be blotted out, may rot wherever he is. And he convinced the masses, the first people he convinced? Doctors, lawyers, accountants. These are the ones he convinced. Part of the Third Reich, not the skinheads we know of today. But the point is, he's able to convince them. They made a choice. People made a choice. And they decided Jews were the scapegoat. And Jews deserved to be killed. They were causing all the problems. To tell me anti-Semitism is not so, what's the word? It's contradictory in many ways. One place will be, Jews will be hated, they don't have money. Another place, Jews will be hated where they have money, right? So it's not about money. So the contradictions all over the place. Bottom line is, anti-Semitism is not rational. It's not rational. So one of the questions, there are many questions, but one of the questions of the Holocaust is, where the heck was man? How can men do such atrocity? Right? We can come up with answers. That's not really the point. The point is that, we can be convinced of certain things. But at the same time, what does Rabbeinu Yoni over here say? People don't want to help. So I can understand you're talking about World War II. Nobody wants to get involved. America doesn't want to get involved. Right? No one wants to get involved over here against this juggernaut, what we call, the Germans. America got involved. They had no choice. Bombing the Pearl Harbor. Right? They had no choice. They had to get involved. Okay. And that was the beginning of the end. Yeah, that was, the antidote that's going to stop this whole thing. Okay. But even so, they turned back votes of Jews. They had quotas, different things. They didn't want to get involved. They sent Jews back to die. That's what they did. So again, you want to really dig into it and understand. You can say there's a lot of things going on at home. They had good reason to do it, and people can say what they want. They didn't want Jews coming in. Period. They knew what was going on. They didn't want. Right? Who were they thinking about? Themselves. Now, does that mean, again, without getting into politics, they have to go save the world? No. They don't have to be in every country, be, overthrowing dictators and this and that. No, that's not their job. Unless God wants them to do it, but that's essentially not their job. So you're going to say this was a divine decree. Tens of thousands of millions of Jews are supposed to die. Okay. But all these people are guilty. God used them as messengers, okay, but everyone has free will. Free will may be a little bit limited, could be, but, in general, where was the conscience? There were some people during the war had a conscience, and that's, they saved Jews. Okay. Very good. Yeah. They risked their lives. Okay. You're going to say you can't expect most people to do that. Okay. I'm not going to deny that. But at the same time, a person has to realize, what am I here for? What am I living for? Right? That's the question. And here I'm making it very simple. And that is, there are people out there, you'll say they help what they want to help. They help the cause they believe in. Okay. People can do what they want, even if the cause doesn't make so much sense, and everything else. People have the right to think the way they want. They can do what they want, unless it goes against Torah mitzvah. But I'm talking about people have an opportunity to help and they don't want to. They'll say, I'd love to help, but I got burned, so I'm not going to help. Or I'm just not going to help in general. That's their choice. Everyone has free choice, right? But here they don't want to help. That's the problem. They don't feel it's their responsibility. But imagine they're making excuses. They'll say, oh, you want help? You should have done this before, right? Everyone's a Monday morning quarterback. Should have done this, should have done that, should have done the other thing. Okay, didn't happen. But you're still in a position to help. And they don't want. Now you say, as we said over here, they're not stealing, they're not doing anything wrong. Yeah, that's true, but they're not helping others. They're stingy in their own minds. Even if they help other things. We're talking about a case where they should help in such a case. Says Rabbeinu Yonah, this is the foundation of all bad character traits. Because they don't want to help. When they could, what comes along with that? We'll throw this out there because we mentioned it before. Person doesn't want to help. They don't even feel bad. Person in a bad situation, let's say, whatever it is. They don't even feel bad. They're apathetic. Somebody who's apathetic, how do you bring them closer to Torah and mitzvahs? Someone who's apathetic is like starting a Jeep with a 9 volts. 9-volt battery. Going to start a Jeep? Nope. Going to start any other car? Nope. Not enough juice. Doesn't have enough power. Okay. Someone like that, you'll never convince them to help. Because they can't see outside of themselves. See, they know you're coming to them for help. So now they have the upper hand. Oh, so you're coming to me. Right? So now you got to try and convince them, why they should help. Or whatever. But some things I think are black and white. Not everything's black and white, but I think some things are. And they understand what's going on. Right? There are people out there holding on to money because they don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. So say King Solomon, you've quoted many times. King Solomon says, you don't know what today's going to bring, you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. Okay? So how much money do you need before you can relax? I heard someone tell me years ago, financial planner said you need $3 million to retire. $3 million in the bank to retire. $3 million? It's a lot of money. Maybe it's not as much as it was years ago. But $3 million is a lot of money. Depends how you live your life. Not telling anyone how to live their life, per se. Okay. But what's the mentality? What's the mentality? Person retires. What's the mentality? Got to be careful. You're not making money. Okay. Not going to deny that. Put money in an IRS. Let's say, okay, you get the money out. You're going to invest it or whatever the case is. But you got to live. Person. Let's say a person who lives the next 20 years, 25 years. Okay. So you got to be careful, okay? You can't just spend money like water. You're not going to have anything left. And what happens? You need surgery, other thing, may have to go to a nursing home. What happens? So you got to think about the future, okay? Not denying that. But if someone has the ability to help, to me, and again, you can probably take this with a grain of salt, but I think it's true, and that is people, when it comes to money, are paranoid. Paranoid. What's going to be tomorrow? I don't have so much, and this and that. Let's say, throw this out there. Let's say someone's in their mid-80s. They're in their mid-80s. How long are they going to live? You can say maybe they live another 10 years, 7 years, 8 years, maybe longer. People are living longer today. Right? I got two relatives, the mid-90s. They should be well. They could live longer. Yeah. So let's say they're worth a couple $1 million. Let's say. And they still own a house. So you're going to say they're living off this money. Okay. Where's the money going? So you're going to say you can't count someone's money. Let's say I could. That's what I'm doing. Let's say. So how much do they spend a year? They spending $100,000 a year? I don't think so. I don't think it's close. Well, let's say $50,000 a year they're spending. Or let's say a little bit more. Let's say $60,000. Now let's analyze. They live another 10 years. All things being equal, that's $720,000. They're worth $2 million. Yeah, that means all things being equal, they'll be left with 1.3. Now, does that mean they should give $500,000 away? No. Not saying that. But could they give money away without even thinking about it? Yes. They give 20,000, give 30,000, maybe they give 50,000. That's not being crazy. Because they're worth $2 million. That's not so crazy. Let's say they're worth $1.5 million, even better. Let's say 50,000, what's that? 10%. If that's not even 10%. Yeah, 5%. Right? So you make the calculation. 1 second. Sorry, it's less than 5%. 5% is 75,000. Yeah. So say 2.5%. Okay, nothing to sneeze at. Definitely nothing to sneeze at. But what's my point? My point is, someone's worth that kind of money. You don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. That's the mantra. You don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. Okay. That's true. At the same time, someone needed help. They could help if they wanted to. Without batting an eyelash. $10,000 without batting an eyelash. I would say more than that. 20,000 without even batting an eyelash. 30,000 without batting an eyelash. If a person had much less than that, different issue. Then they obviously have to be, they have to be more careful. But the mentality I'm pointing out is crazy. Yeah, a person can live another 10 years. Okay, they could. In theory, they could. But you never lose helping someone. You never lose giving some money to help someone. And some people will be convinced by this mentality. And they'll say, I can't do it. It's just, it's impossible. It's not impossible. Person can get brainwashed by society telling them, be very careful. You don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. That's true. Not denying that. 100% true. Question is, how much you got in your pocket? Yeah. And if you have a significant amount in your pocket, that doesn't apply. For the most part. I'm not going to say give over it, you give half of it. I'm not saying that. Right? Just made a case. Person had $1.5 million. Let's say. to give 2%, it's significant. $50,000, significant. I agree. 100%. Right? 100% I would agree. At the same time, it's 2%. Right? Okay, let me do the math. It's a little more than 3.5%. Right? That's what it comes out. Something like that. Yeah. And it's not even. It's less. It's like 3.2%. Something like that. Now, let me see if I get closer. They're like 3.3%. Right? Let me just do the math here. Yeah, it's about almost 3.4%. Okay. Right? The amount is significant. I'm not saying not. But you look at it percentage-wise, and the person, I'll help you. I'll give you 3.3% of what I have. The person had $150,000, so fine, they give you $2,500, okay, or $5,000, okay. Everything within the amount that a person would have. I'm just throwing out a number. The person would say, look, giving you this money, that's significant. Okay. Look at it in the bigger scheme of things. It's 3.34%. Not even 3.4%. Now, the irony is, they could live another 10 years. They could. They could live another 2 years. Nobody knows. Nobody knows what tomorrow's going to bring. I'm not saying a person should be spendthrift and give all their money away. Not saying that. Well, there are people out there that can help a lot more than they do if they do it all. That's the point. Because of that, we mentioned that a person doesn't give or they don't want to help. What are the bad things that it leads to? So I'm going to tell you what it leads to. One of them is apathy. In other words, they feel they can't help, let's say, or they don't want to help. And then person's situation, they look at it, they don't seem to care. Or they'll give a shrug or a kvetch or a sigh. They'll say, oh, whatever, next topic. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to them. Apathy is a terrible thing. That means someone goes through a difficult time, whatever it may be, you can't empathize with them. You convince yourself, I can't do anything anyway, let's say, but you don't have any empathy. And anyone who's been in such a situation, it's kind of annoying. You're going through a difficult time, that person does not know how to empathize. There are people like that out there. They don't know how to empathize. What do? You grew up in such a situation. You have family members, let's say. You have family members like that. Yeah. So I grew up, I mentioned many times, around adults. And adults saying, expect nothing from somebody, whatever you get is a bonus. Now, that's a way of protecting yourself, that you ask someone for help or whatever the case is, they don't give you anything, or they don't help you, so you don't feel bad because you didn't expect anything. But if you have expectations and the person doesn't help you, feel bad. Makes sense, you feel bad. You're asking them for help, they don't come through. It can be many different ways. It doesn't have to be just with money. It can be many different ways. So if you don't expect it, very good. Then you're not going to get burnt. But if you did expect help, or whatever the case is, and you didn't get, you're going to feel bad. You're going to be resentful. Because the person could have helped and they didn't, for whatever reason. So this empathy that some people do not have is annoying. Right? You're venting, you're going through a hard time, whatever it is, and they could care less. It doesn't register. They're like, whatever, next topic. They don't want to deal with it. They don't want to hear about it. They'll say, you did it to yourself. What are you coming to me? What are you venting about? Because I had someone tell me, a third person got upset, bad business advice, they lost everything, trying to open up another franchise. The person still feels burned today because they got bad advice. Okay, you got to deal with it at some point. But what's the person most upset about? I'll tell you. What they're upset about is that there was no one there to empathize. Nobody. No, anyone was there to bail them out, this and that. There's no empathy. Isn't that annoying? It's like you got hit upside the head, you're on your knees and you're crippled. And they say, wow, how does it feel to be crippled? Can't walk, get cerebral palsy. You got other things, right? Can't walk straight, right? I saw someone the other day. Well, difficult walking. I was like, wow, I'm glad I don't have that. But they look and they just say, wow, that must hurt. That must be pretty bad. They don't have an empathetic bone in their body. So now I would agree. If that happens to a person, and life is very hard in that sense, and there's no one to help them, I'm not even talking financial. Forget about financial. It's not a good word. There's no empathy. Couldn't that grind on someone? Couldn't that tick somebody off? You're going to say, family, look. Look where I'm holding right now. There's nobody there. There's nobody there. The person says, like, what do I need family for? So, okay, what's the Torah perspective? What's the Torah perspective on that? You know what the Torah perspective is? Torah perspective is God runs the world. And in this thing, God didn't want you to have it. So instead, he took it away. So in my case, someone took all my money, used it for something else, and was it just my money, other people's money, and the whole thing went bankrupt. Okay? So you say, well, it's against your will, right? I didn't sign up for that, right? Does God run the world or he doesn't? Did God want this to happen? He wanted it to happen. He wanted it to happen. I don't have any claims against him. It's what's supposed to be. This person was just the mechanism to do it. Yeah. So that being the case, the person's down. You don't just say, well, now what are you going to do? What are you going to do about this? I've heard people tell me, not just my own story. Went through a difficult time and people around them were like, okay, so what are you going to do now? What are you going to do now? They're not there to help. They're just like they think normal conversation. Wow, it must be pretty hard for you. Not even that. Well, the answer is so. What are your options? What are you going to do? That's not empathy. I've gotten this from a lot of different people, different things that happened, and like zero empathy. Right? So they say, how do you deal with such a thing? How's it possible to deal with such a thing? Especially people you're supposed to count on. Why we say family could be an albatross. Yeah. So nobody shows you empathy. What do you do? So we're going to say, expect nothing, whatever you get is a bonus? No. Realize one thing, God's in charge. And the best effort and the best advice that I was ever given was one of my rabbis told me, he says, you got to look at people like they're insane. They have no connection to Torah mitzvahs. They're insane. So if someone insane does not, you're trying to express something, they don't show empathy. Or worse. Or they say certain things. I mentioned this many times. These people are insane, period. So you don't get worked up over it. You're not just passing the buck and say, well, Family's an albatross. What can you do? Expect nothing. Expect nothing, and whatever you get is a bonus. No. There's nobody home. There's nobody at top over here. They're all gone. What are you supposed to do? That's the way you're supposed to look at it. And you say, but I really needed help. I was counting on them. No, you can count on God. That's it. And whoever God makes that messenger, God will make that messenger. And if it's family, okay. If it's not family, and they're the ones that could help you, let's say, move on. That's where salvation comes from. Salvation comes through man. God uses his messengers. Salvation comes from God himself. That's where it comes from. Whoever God uses as that mechanism to help you or not, God's decision. So we got to pray every day. Take me out of this problem. Help me. You're the one who can help. It's not based on what man does. That's what we learned from the Holocaust. One of the things. You never, ever rely on man. But what about putting my best foot forward? That's my obligation. True. 100% my obligation. At the same time, I got to put my best foot forward. But I have to realize salvation comes from God. It's going to come through him. And Yeshua's Hashem, clarifying. Salvation of God can come in the blink of an eyelash. When you least expect it from totally unexpected places. Seen it many, many times. Many, many times. Totally where it was totally unexpected. Not just financially, in other ways. Meeting somebody, this connection, that connection, something else happened, this, that, all kinds of things. But in general, people who are not steeped in Torah mitzvahs, they're insane. Because they go against what God says. They don't seem to care. So are we shocked? Should we be shocked? You'll say, no, it's not shocking. Because people don't know anything. Like someone once said to me, if I breathe on your food, does that mean it's not kosher? So my answer was, yeah, it's kosher. It's got bad breath on it. All right, I'm going to let someone get under my skin. Why would I let them get under my skin? No reason for them to get under your skin. They're obnoxious. They want to make you feel bad. Okay, I'm not going to feel bad. I'm going to do what I need to do. You want to make a stupid comment? You know how easy it would be, and again, probably one of my trials in this world, probably what my soul's doing here. You know how easy, like someone makes a comment like that, within 30 seconds, not even. Within 10 seconds, I could have said 10 things come out of my mouth. Shredded them like no tomorrow, make them feel like a piece of dirt, which they probably deserve. Yeah. It's not about revenge. It's not putting someone in their place. You just sit there, made a comment, that's it. I'm going to get upset because the person's trying to get under my skin. That's what the evil inclination wants. No. I'm not going to get under my skin. Maybe I'll give an answer here or there, but, in general, I'm going to let it go. Unless I feel I need to say something. Because a person like that is insane. They're absolutely insane. Yeah, like someone once said, give me, life after death? Can you explain that in 30 seconds? Now, if I would open my mouth 5 seconds, it would have shut me down. Right? So my answer was, I'll send you a link. You want to look at it? Good. I'll send you a link about life after death. How's it? Did they look at it? I have no idea. They say propaganda never goes to waste. Okay. But in general, some people won't hear. They'll just make fun. They'll continue to make fun. You don't have to take it. You don't have to be a punching bag. That's it. At a certain point, my own life, and I'm not saying I did everything right every time. At a certain point, I just said, okay, enough's enough. I'm not a punching bag. You want to make a comment? Don't think I'm not going to answer. Or I may not answer, or whatever. But then I'll say, oh, what are you getting so upset about? Because you're obnoxious. You're stamping on something I hold very sacred. So you're going to say, but you're not supposed to get upset. Oh, really? Right. right? So how do you not get upset? How do you not let it get under your skin? I'm going to tell you. Somebody who says like that, you can give a snappy answer and, in a 3-second answer. Okay. You can do that. There's nothing necessarily wrong with it. At the same time, it's like having a 5-year-old, that's got a 25 IQ blubber all over you. It's annoying. Good. You're going to get upset? What are you get upset about? Person got a 25 IQ less. I said to someone, in passing, they made a comment. I said, my 5-year-old could answer that. So again, probably could. That's it. I was like, come on, you can't do better than that. I got a better question. Look at that person admitted. Very good. So maybe I shouldn't have even said that. It's just like you let it go. A person like that's not worth anything to answer. Years ago, I would have, flipped my lid. Who are you to say such a thing? What do you know? You can't even read the aleph base. Made the comment someone. I said, I'm humoring you by listening. But I said, you're basing something. You can't even read Hebrew. I have a PhD, pilot iron deeper, a papa has dough. I got a PhD in this stuff. You can't even read Hebrew. You want to argue? You wouldn't do it with Stephen Hawking and say, I read an article on Wikipedia about physics. Gotta knock him out. Greatest physicist of our time. Heretic, okay, but one of the greatest physicists of our time. Gotta knock him out? I don't think so. But people believe things very strongly. They don't know anything. Right? We mentioned this many times. So here we're talking about a case. I'm going to take some questions. I see there are questions here. That, a person, if they could help and they don't, woe to them. Woe to them what God could do to them. I'm talking about in a position where they could help, whether physically or not. Again, it has not necessarily to do with money. But they can help a person, they don't want to. They don't feel they have to. Let's say better. Yeah. So if that's the case, they're in trouble. All right, they didn't steal from anyone. Okay. But they're not helping others as well. Rabbeinu Yonah says this leads to other terrible things we mentioned. Yeah, question. Somebody asked, what does it mean not to be selfish at all? Needs the feelings of others go over mine. No. Who says? Who says someone's feelings doesn't come over yours? I'm talking about where someone's in a position to help someone else. Whether monetarily, not monetarily. And they're in need. Now, if they're in need and you could help them, but now you got to think, if I help them, it's going to cause stress to my family. So stress to your family comes first. If you can work it out, it's not going to cause you any other stress and any other difficulty. Okay. Right? All things being equal, you can do it. Very good. But some people, I didn't even touch on this, but this is a topic in and of itself. And that is, there are people out there helping the world, but they don't do anything at home. They're nowhere with their family. That's not good either. Helping others is a huge thing. Yeah, but at what expense? At what expense? Who says? In certain circumstances, you got an obligation to help others at the expense of your own family. Yeah. So the question is, sometimes, yeah, you may have to overlook what you think and help others. It depends on the situation. It's not a general question. Depends on what the situation is. There are times you can't think about your own feelings, you just got to help. But there are other times your feelings come, like I said, if it's something where it's going to come at the expense of your family in a negative way, then it shouldn't be done. Or you should ask proper rabbinic guidance what to do, in such a situation. Not everything is black and white. Definitely not black and white. I would say there are times where what you think doesn't matter. And that you got to help no matter what. Other times are that way. Other times your feelings definitely come into play. And family comes into play. Right? As we said, there are a lot of people very righteous and help others like you can't imagine. And at home, they're a disaster. They're a disaster. They're going to say, but I had to help this. Okay. but it doesn't come at the expense of family. Necessarily, it depends what it is. But you can't be out there saving the world and everything in your house goes to pot. That you can't do. That you're not allowed to do. But there could be certain times where, it's not about your feelings here. It's about what the right thing to do is. All things being equal. It depends. Depends on the situation. Any situation we're not allowed to be kind. I would say if it's gonna, the case I mentioned, if it's gonna cause problems at home, you're doing something to help someone else out, but it's at really the expense of your family. You can't do that. Let's say you want to help someone out, and the family doesn't necessarily agree. They stay in your house and they cause, they might cause some other problems. Can't do that. Can't do that to the extent of them. If you can minimize it in some way, okay. Right? But if a person doesn't feel the yoke of his friends, right? Sometimes, even they can't necessarily help. They're also taking a task. If they don't feel it, they don't have empathy. King Solomon says in Proverbs that a person who spares the rod is cruel. Now, sparing the rod means, corporal punishment here. Kids out of line, whatever, you smack them. Or you discipline them. Now, today, about every educator would say you can't do that. A kid will call the police. You can't hit a kid today. Right? You shouldn't hit a kid. Doesn't do the same as it used to. Right? That you can't do. But what sparing the rod over here means is you have to discipline. There's an obligation to discipline. So here you want to say no, you want to be, you want to be kind, you want to be gentle, you don't want to, God forbid, do something where it's going to cause the kid, God forbid, to go off. But kids need discipline. They don't want to just do whatever they want when they want. They need discipline. So if you don't discipline, you're considered cruel. Or if you're helping someone go in their negative ways. You help someone to give them money, you help them out, the money's going to drugs. But you continually help them. That's bad. That's not being kind, that's being cruel. You should cut them off. Say, but they might do worse things. Okay, so what? If they end up stealing and doing other things, you shouldn't be giving money to perpetuate that. So there are things. There are things, like that. Should someone be kind to a heretic? Who says I have to be kind to a heretic? Just because they don't know anything, I have to be kind to them? Who says? King David says, I love those that love you. I fight against those who hate you. Why should I be kind to someone who hates you? Someone asks, can I explain how converts suffer because they delayed entering under the wings of the Shekhinah? Yeah. If a non-Jew had the opportunity to convert, right? Meaning they could have moved, they could have done things they needed to do to convert, and they don't. We can say not everyone's supposed to convert. True. Even if they're not supposed to convert, what does it matter? God sees what's inside a person. And when God sees that a person delays when they could have converted, they're punished. Because here they have an opportunity and they don't. We're not talking they're wishy-washy. Should I do it? Shouldn't I do it? I'm not really sure. I hear this a lot sometimes. People go through different situations and yeah, they're on board, then they're off board, then they're on board again. They flip back and forth what they're going to do. Not talking about a case like that. You were talking about a case, someone is committed. They want to be committed. They can move and this and that, and they don't. And God sees in their soul they really should be Jewish. But for whatever reason, they're lazy. That's what it means. That's what it means. They had no opportunity to do it, they don't want. But we're talking about in a case where they're committed. They're committed for conversion. You say, but up until that last minute, not really committed. God's going to see through that. Right? A person can say, well, they weren't really committed if they didn't follow through in the end. Okay. Maybe they're not really committed. But God can only make that judgment. Some people are stuck in situations they can't convert. Person married to a spouse. They want to reform conversion. They're only willing to go reform or conservative. That doesn't mean the person has to get divorced. Yeah. But let's say that's the only thing stopping them from an Orthodox conversion. That's a different issue. Now, God can see through them and see how strong they are and that they should get divorced or whatever. Right? So maybe God's going to hold it against them if they don't get divorced or whatever. Could be. Right? But in general, I wouldn't think so. Because no one says you have to convert for the sake of a spouse. If the spouse doesn't want. And to get divorced, meaning that a person doesn't have to get divorced if they want to convert. Right? I know someone did that. I don't know the whole story or part of the story, but they basically said they're happy they converted, but they end up losing their spouse in the process. So they're happy being Jewish. Okay. But it costs them. Costs them in a major way. So I wouldn't tell people to do that. So they're going to be held responsible for not getting divorced? I don't think so. Doesn't make sense they would. Because, no one's obligated to convert in the first place. But we're saying they're at the point to convert. They're ready. Basin's ready for them. The rabbinical court's ready. And for some reason, they flake out. So I would say, in that case, they're in trouble. They delayed. It's not just, wow, I can't afford to move. I can't do this now. Whatever. Okay. God's not going to necessarily hold it against them. But if God sees deep in a person's soul and they're just dilly-dallying when they really could convert, yeah, that's where they're going to be punished. 100%, that's where they're going to be punished. Yeah. Someone asks, is it right to say sorry for what you didn't do just for the sake of peace? Yes. Does a person have to do it? No. Is it a good thing to do to make peace? Yeah. There are many of an argument that's been lost between family, friends, because a person stood up for what they stood up for and they won the argument. Winning the argument, doesn't mean you won the war here. You might have won the argument, but it came at a price. Yeah, not everything a person has to do for the sake of peace. Yeah, it depends what it is. But I would say in general, would it be better for a person just to admit they did something wrong if they did it for the sake of peace? Yeah. Does the person have to? No. But again, a person can get in an argument with someone and win the argument and lose. In other words, you prove someone wrong, you lose. 100% you lose. Right? You could, sorry, let's say better. You could lose. You don't want that. But it depends what it is. There is what to be said, certainly, between husband and wife, a person allowed to lie for the sake of peace. In certain cases. Between husband and wife is one of them. It could be for family also. Depends what it is. But even if you didn't do it, but it's going to make things go away and take pressure off by admitting you did something wrong. So I don't think you did something wrong. What a person say, but I didn't do anything wrong. Yeah, again, it depends what it is. But, in general, is that a good thing? For the sake of peace? Could be, yeah. It might be hard for a person to do it. They certainly don't feel they're wrong. It's very hard. Why should I admit I'm wrong when you're not wrong? Because you want the argument to end. You want peace. So let them think you're wrong. What's the problem? We have an ego. Or, as we say here in Israel, you have an ego. You have an ego. You don't want to admit you're wrong. You're not wrong. The Torah says, "Zavar sheker tirchak." You're not allowed to lie. Certain things you are allowed to. Certain things you are allowed to. For the sake of peace, yeah. It depends what it is. But in general, is that a good thing to do? Yeah. I'm not going to say anyone's going to want to do it. Especially if a person sees they give in and the other person never gives in, and they are always giving in. That's hard. It's like having a one-sided relationship. You're the one who calls someone, is always in contact. They never make the phone call. Doesn't mean they don't necessarily care, but they don't make the phone call. That's annoying, right? So someone would ask, what would you do in such a situation? Depends. How badly you want the friendship. The friendship, is not worth it, then don't make phone calls. Don't contact. The relationships the person can have that are only one-sided. Okay. Very good. Depends if you can handle it or not. And for some people, they'll say, I'm not doing it. Over the years, I've done this, I've done that. They never reciprocated. Doesn't mean that they have a bad relationship. The other person doesn't pick up the phone. Anyone who's ever had friendship like that's annoying, right? I would agree. Totally annoying. So you have to decide, is that relationship worth it? It could be with family. It could be with friends. I spoke to a family member I hadn't spoken to in years, many, many years. That's a whole long conversation. Yeah. If I'm not in contact, I'll never hear from them. The question is how important the relationship is. I'll tell you, personally, it's annoying. It doesn't mean necessarily the person doesn't care. They just, for whatever reason, they don't pick up the phone. It's not who they are. So either you accept or you don't accept. There's nothing really in between here. Right? You have to acknowledge this is who they are. This is what they do. Some people just have problems doing that. Okay. Yeah, someone asks, how can you put someone into their place without sinning? Well, who says it's a sin? Who says it's a sin to put them in their place? You'll say they might get upset. I didn't say anything wrong. I didn't call them names. Right? Someone, I'll give an example. An example happened to me. Someone said, if I breathe on your kosher food, doesn't mean it's not kosher. I said, no, it's kosher because it's bad breath. Yeah. What's wrong with that? What if you cause them to get upset? The other person get upset. What if they got offended by making the statement that's true? So, a person will say, I think the Torah is anti-pig. So you defend the Torah and they get upset. Is that your problem? Not your problem. Is that a Torah prohibition? This week's Torah portion we just read today. Right, parts of Kedoshim. Not allowed to put a stumbling block in front of someone. Is that a stumbling block? No. They're saying things against the Torah that are true. Right? That the Torah holds by. And they make fun of it. And you answer them on it, and they say, oh, you're getting so upset, this and that. And you prove them wrong. Why is that a problem? You're going to say it causes them to get angry. They have their own choice to get angry. Yeah? But they're saying things that are bad. So you put them in their place, you answer them, that's it. What are you going to transgress over here? What's a transgression? They get angry because you answered their question. Someone made a below the belt comment, really below the belt comment. I answered him with a very snappy answer, quick answer. That was it. That ended the conversation. Where's the sin in such a thing? Where's the sin in such a case? Not putting a stumbling block in front of someone. They cause it themselves. Copying 614th commandment. Don't be stupid. You make a comment like that, you're going to get an answer. Yeah. Can't make fun of them per se. You got to be careful what you say. That's true. Well, see, some people have the merit. A lot of these people are heretics anyway. Whether they don't keep Shabbos properly, they desecrate Shabbos in public, they're married to a non-Jew. You can say whatever you want about them. You don't have to worry. You can even take away the livelihood if you wanted to. That's how far it goes. So that's not a problem. No matter what they know, what they don't know. Now, does that mean I'm allowed to just say, make them feel bad and this and that? Not necessarily. But I have a right to say what I want. But what if it's someone who's not like that? It's not a heretic. Okay. Then answer them. It doesn't necessarily mean you're sinning. Give them a snappy answer. That's it. And if they take it the wrong way, it's their fault. It's not your fault. You say, oh, but you said it. But that's not putting a stumbling block in front of them. So where's the prohibition? You want to tell me the prohibition is you're making fun of them? You don't make fun of them. Yeah, where it's not allowed. You're putting a stumbling block in front of them? It's not a stumbling block. So where's the prohibition? What's the sin over here? You made them feel bad. I don't know. I'm not saying you made them feel bad. You gave an answer. You gave them a snappy answer. They didn't like it. Okay. They didn't like it. So there was sin. They didn't like your answer. I don't know if there's a sin. You're not embarrassing them. It's not embarrassing. Someone makes an obnoxious comment to you and you answer them. Why is that embarrassing to them? Why in the world is that embarrassing? It's their fault for saying something stupid. I'm not saying you make fun of them. Right? See, if they're a heretic and everything else, it's very easy. I don't necessarily have limitations. But I would say, even if you have the limitations, you gotta be careful. Someone made a comment to me. I'll give you an example. Someone made a comment to me a few weeks back. And said, well, you weren't raised to be a fanatic. Okay, you're right. I was raised to think what I want and whatever. You want to be liberal, you don't want to be liberal, whatever the case is. Like I said, just because I was raised in a certain way, have to show a little bit of respect, certainly for parents. They brought you into this world. They may cause other problems and different things. We're not going there. The point is, I said, yeah. So, I said I'm respectful as much as I can be. Well, at the same time, what do you want? They didn't raise you that way, so what does that have to do with anything? There are people out there who don't know very much about Judaism, and that's it. So I had to learn it on my own, and I had to have my own mentors and my own peers and different things. Okay, it's not their fault. They didn't know any better. I mean, they have an obligation. They have an obligation to educate their kids in a Torah way. They chose not to. That's their choice. That's their choice. Got to be, respectful to a point. If they make fun of you, you still have to be, respectful to a certain extent, even if it's hard. Doesn't mean I necessarily have to honor them. Again, we've spoken about this many times also, right? But in such a case, someone hammered me. They didn't raise you that way. So what? I said, they also can't read Hebrew, so it's not a true statement. The words have to do with anything. It's because I wasn't raised that way. Yeah, so I took it on and I learned about it. Yeah. You gotta be careful. You can't embarrass someone, right? That's true. It says, read this week. You have to give rebuke. And then it says you have to give rebuke so you don't have sin. The end of the verse. I mean, you can't embarrass someone when you give rebuke. If you don't know how to give rebuke, you shouldn't give rebuke in general. Right? It's a much more complicated thing. You're not allowed to embarrass them. 100% you're not allowed to embarrass them. So you're going to say, what if putting in their place they get embarrassed? And you're wrong. Then a person shouldn't do it. I'm talking about a case they're not going to get embarrassed. You're not embarrassing. Let's say better. You're not embarrassing them. If they get embarrassed, so, again, it depends who the person is in general. If the person's a heretic, embarrass them as much as I want, right? I'm not saying it's a good thing to do, and you shouldn't do it. So a person has to be careful. You definitely have to be careful. You're right. If you put them in the place, you can embarrass them. You're right. So you have to be careful, right? But there are ways to talk to people. If you put them in their place, they're not necessarily going to get embarrassed. Someone says, Parshas Kedoshim says, 1926, should not come to the base of omens or lucky hours. Yeah, you shouldn't say, I'm going to do this because or let's say better, a person's going to say, well, I'm not going to want to walk under a ladder. It's bad luck. Or I saw a black cat. It's going to cause, this. Person breaks, I don't know where this comes from. You break a mirror, 7 years bad luck. That's what it's talking about. Right? The Gemara says, if a person says, well, if I eat this bread and it fell from my mouth and that's going to happen and that's going to happen because of it, yeah, that's what it means. That's what the omen is. If a person puts, says this is going to happen, that's going to happen based on something that has nothing to do with anything. Like things we mentioned, those are omens. That's talking about. Yeah. Any other questions? All right, so I got pretty far as usual. I'm going to stop here. Sunday. Is it superstitious? Yeah, but a superstition, yeah, it can be an omen. Don't do this because they're afraid this is going to happen, or the other thing's going to happen. But it's not based in anything. It's not based in Torah, right? So you're putting something. You're giving something credibility. It doesn't have any credibility. Like just because a black cat walked in front of you, and you say, oh, now you're going to have bad luck. No. Black cat walked in front of you, who cares? You walk underneath the ladder and make sure there's nothing rickety, the ladder's not rickety, nothing above it, this and that, so you should be okay. Right? It doesn't have any power, it doesn't do anything. Right? But a person's going to give it power it doesn't have, yeah. Like a superstition. Yeah, any other questions? I do actually have a video on it about, if you go to Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism on YouTube, there's a video in Genesis about omens. I've spoken about. I think I spoke on controversial issues also, on Tanakh Talk, as well. Yeah, any other questions? All right, we're going to stop here. Tomorrow, Book of Leviticus, chapter 16, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, 4 o'clock Israel time. Anyone has any questions, you can contact me at Michael Chaim Kaufman, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism on Facebook, orthodoxconversion.com, or on YouTube, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism. I have videos there on ethics of our fathers, Q&As, Torah portion of the week, controversial issues, or you can send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RBBICHAIMCOFFMAN@gmail.com, whichever good beginning of the day, middle of the day, or end of the day, and